Our story begins with Bluey, a tiny Pomeranian whose fur was a cloud of soft brown and white. His face, framed by brown patches, held dark, trusting button eyes. With a proud white chest and fluffy cotton ball paws, he was the gentlest soul, a calm, quietly loving, and understanding companion from his very first day.
In the winter of 2024, a young man named Kevin, who had long wanted a companion, made a life-changing decision. After a diligent search, he found a Pomeranian puppy named Bluey at an adoption event. The moment Kevin held that tiny white and brown bundle of fluff, he felt an instant connection. And Bluey nuzzled right into his chest, already trusting his very first parent and protector.
That magical first week, Kevin watched Bluey cautiously explore the cozy corner he'd set up, complete with a soft bed, tiny bowls, pads, and toys. His nose twitching, Bluey discovered his reflection, tilted his head at the TV, and curled into a warm ball of fluff. Waking to find him sleeping at his feet made it all worthwhile. As the weeks melted into a month, Bluey's true personality began to shine through. It was clear to everyone he was the gentlest dog anyone could ever hope to meet. There was no aggressive barking at sounds, no nipping during play, and not a single sign of territorial behavior. When Kevin came home from a long day, Bluey would simply wag his fluffy tail slowly, waiting with immense patience to be picked up for a cuddle. Unlike other puppies who might jump or demand attention, Bluey would sit quietly, his intelligent eyes following Kevin's every move, just waiting for the perfect moment for affection. His favorite thing in the whole world was simply being petted, especially right behind his ears and along his back. Bluey developed an absolute, unwavering devotion to being petted and loved on. Whenever someone sat down, on the couch or the floor, he would gently approach and lean his small body against their leg, a subtle but unmistakable invitation for attention. As his soft fur was stroked, he would close his eyes in pure bliss, and little contented sighs would escape his tiny body. If the petting paused, he'd open one eye just slightly, a polite request to continue. He never pawed aggressively or whined impatiently. He simply made himself available, deeply appreciating every single moment of love. Though Kevin adored Bluey, the reality of his demanding life soon set in over the following months. His professional career required incredibly long hours, sometimes 12 a day. With career ambitions, social commitments, and major life changes to consider, he was often home late. Coming home to find Bluey waiting by the door, having been alone all day, weighed heavily on Kevin's conscience. The little Pomeranian never complained, but Kevin saw in those trusting eyes a desperate need for more than he could provide. The guilt became harder to bear each day. A significant life milestone brought things to a critical head when Kevin decided to purchase his first home. It was a wonderful new chapter, but one that demanded so much of his time, with renovations to oversee, mortgage meetings, and moving logistics to handle. One evening, with Bluey curled peacefully in his lap, Kevin had an honest conversation with himself about what was best for his companion. Bluey deserved so much more than being an afterthought. He deserved someone who could always be present, with time to play, to train, and to shower him with the constant love he so patiently waited for. Kevin's mother, a lifelong dog lover who raised wonderful dogs his whole childhood, was now retired. She had ample time, incredible patience, and a boundless abundance of love to give a deserving pet. Kevin saw how his mom's face would just light up whenever she visited and saw Bluey. She'd spend the entire visit on the floor, petting him and speaking in that special, gentle voice. And Bluey, completely at ease, would fall fast asleep in her lap. That's when Kevin realized the perfect solution for the amazing life Bluey deserved was right in front of him. Making the decision was one of the hardest things Kevin had ever been forced to do. He loved Bluey with all his heart, and the thought of not coming home to that fluffy white and brown face made him physically ache. But love means making difficult sacrifices, so Kevin put Bluey's needs far above his own desires. With a heavy heart, he called his mom one evening and asked if she would take Bluey permanently. After a brief pause on the line, his mom's warm, comforting voice assured him she would be absolutely honored to give Bluey a forever home filled with love, time, and constant attention. Bringing Bluey to his mom's house for good was bittersweet. Kevin set down his bed, toys, and bowls in a corner she'd lovingly prepared with new gifts. For their last hug, Kevin promised to visit, and Bluey's gentle lick showed he understood. With his mom's reassuring hand on his shoulder, Bluey began exploring, already sensing a wonderful new start. For her mother's retirement, Tiffany wanted a truly special gift. Her mom, a devoted dog lover, had given so much to her family. After careful research into different breeds, sizes, and temperaments, a toy poodle felt perfect. Small, intelligent, deeply affectionate, an ideal companion. Tiffany found a reputable breeder in Kentucky specializing in red toy poodles, and when she saw the photos, one little red bundle of fur immediately captured her entire heart. Tiffany found a highly recommended breeder in Kentucky with years of experience raising healthy, well-socialized toy poodles. Over hours of video calls, she meticulously learned about each puppy's personality, health records, and unique characteristics. The breeder showed how they played and responded to people, pointing out which ones would make wonderful companions. But one tiny red toy poodle stood out. She was adventurous, yet incredibly cuddly, playful, but calm when held. The breeder noted this puppy had a special spark in her eyes and actively sought human attention more than any of her litter mates. Getting a puppy all the way from Kentucky was a significant challenge, but Tiffany's wonderfully kind and adventurous sister Linda immediately volunteered for the mission. She completely understood how important this special gift was to their mother and Tiffany and was determined that everything go perfectly. So she took time off work, flew to Kentucky to meet the breeder in person, and personally escorted the precious puppy home, after researching airline pet policies, buying a TSA-approved carrier, and coordinating the precise timing to ensure the puppy was old enough to fly, yet still young enough to bond quickly. It was a bright morning in the middle of May 2025 when Linda boarded a flight to Kentucky, carrying an empty pet carrier but a heart just brimming with anticipation. The quiet flight gave her time to dream about her mother's reaction and how this little puppy would change her mom's daily life for the better. Upon landing, Linda rented a car and drove out to the breeder's beautiful property in rural Kentucky. There, puppies played in secure outdoor pens, and the breeder's genuine love for these animals was evident in every single detail. Linda was greeted warmly and immediately shown to the area where the adorable red toy poodles were happily waiting for her arrival. When Linda saw the tiny red toy poodle Tiffany chose, she understood. The puppy was impossibly small, with bright reddish-brown fur and intelligent eyes, fitting right in her cupped hands. Placed gently into her arms, the little one snuggled into her chest with tiny, contented sounds. Feeling that rapid heartbeat, Linda was overwhelmed with the pure joy and responsibility of bringing her home. The breeder provided all the health documents, vaccination records, care instructions, and a blanket carrying the comforting scent of her leather and litter mates. The return journey was a grand adventure in itself. Linda kept the puppy safely tucked in an airline-approved carrier under the seat in front of her, but throughout the entire flight, she would continuously peek in, just to check on her tiny, precious passenger. The little one slept for most of the way, occasionally stirring to look around with her curious eyes. Other passengers noticed the carrier and shared knowing smiles with Linda, because, of course, everyone loves a puppy. Linda whispered reassurances through the carrier's mesh, promising that soon they would be home and that someone would be there to love her forever. The puppy seemed to trust Linda completely, already beginning to bond with this kind human who had traveled so far, just to bring her to her destiny. May 19th, 2025 started out as just an ordinary Tuesday for Kevin and Tiffany's mother. After a morning of reading and a quiet lunch, she was relaxing in her living room with Bluey napping peacefully nearby when the doorbell rang. She opened the door to find Linda standing there with a knowing smile and a carrier. Before their mom could even process what was happening, Linda opened the carrier door and lifted out the tiniest red toy poodle she had ever seen. Their mother's hands flew to her mouth, her eyes instantly filling with tears of pure shock and joy. "Is this really for me?" she whispered. Linda simply nodded, as Tiffany, who had been waiting in the car to capture the moment on video, rushed in to witness the beautiful surprise unfold. Holding Daisy for the very first time was a profoundly emotional moment, one the family will treasure for the rest of their lives. With tears streaming down her face, she cradled the impossibly small puppy against her chest, feeling its warmth and its tiny, rapid heartbeat. The puppy looked up at her new owner with complete and immediate trust, as their mom kept repeating, "She's so small. She's so perfect. I can't believe this is real." Bluey, awakened by all the commotion, trotted over curiously to investigate this tiny new arrival. Their mom sat down on the couch, one hand gently holding Daisy, the other reaching down to reassure Bluey that he was still loved just as much. In that instant, the house felt even more like a complete and happy home. After an hour spent just marveling at her new puppy, the family gathered to choose a name, considering everything from fancy to simple. But then their mom looked down at the tiny red toy poodle, who was gazing up with such innocent, trusting eyes, and she said simply, "Her name is Daisy." The name fit her perfectly. It was simple, sweet, and cheerful. Little Daisy seemed to respond right away, perhaps just to the loving tone in her new mother's voice. And so she was Daisy, who had traveled all the way from Kentucky to complete this happy family. That very first evening with both Bluey and Daisy in the house was a time for careful introductions and gentle, constant supervision. Their mom had set up a second cozy dog bed right next to Bluey's, along with tiny puppy food bowls and a collection of small toys, just right for a toy poodle. Little Daisy was incredibly curious about everything, sniffing each corner and investigating every piece of furniture, but always circling back to their mom's feet for reassurance. Bluey watched this energetic newcomer with a quiet mix of patience and curiosity, occasionally approaching for a gentle sniff before calmly returning to his preferred spot. As the evening fell, both dogs settled near their mom. She sat with one hand on each of them, her heart completely overwhelmed with gratitude and immense love. It only took a few days to see that little Daisy was a tiny force of nature, all bundled up in a 3-pound package. Where Bluey was calm and content to sit quietly for hours, Daisy was perpetually in motion, bouncing from room to room and investigating everything with boundless enthusiasm. Her tiny legs moved at such an incredible speed, creating a comical sight as she raced across the floor, her red fur bouncing with each and every step. Their mom would watch in amazement as Daisy would suddenly take off sprinting for no apparent reason, complete 3 laps around the living room, then stop on a dime to see if anyone was watching her impressive athletic display. This tiny puppy had more energy than any dog their mom had ever met in her life. Among their mom's new puppy toys was one small textured ball. For Daisy, something just clicked. She pounced, demanding a game, and in that moment discovered her glorious passion, fetch. When it came to fetch, the word enough just wasn't in Daisy's vocabulary, so the game only ended when the ball was hidden. Tiny Daisy played fetch with a giant's heart, leaping, flipping, and diving under furniture. She'd emerge dusty but triumphant, worrying her mom with her infinite, fetch-fueled energy. While Daisy zipped after her ball, bemused Bluey watched from the couch, preferring peaceful pets. When invited to play, he'd give one gentle nose push,
so Daisy found someone who understood proper fetch. Their mom expertly managed two very different personalities. Bluey needed quiet time and gentle pets to feel secure, while energetic Daisy craved constant activity and her ball thrown 600 times a day.
Daisy's sharp intelligence was immediately clear. She mastered sit in an afternoon. Stay was harder for her energetic spirit, and come was unnecessary. Special treats weren't her motivation. The ball was. Fetch as the reward made her a straight A student. Housebreaking tiny Daisy was a unique challenge. While calm big brother Bluey stuck to the schedule, energetic Daisy had her own hilarious routine. Mid-fetch, she'd sprint to her training pad and be back in 30 seconds flat, ready for the next throw. Her mom joked it was simply maximum efficiency for her beloved game.
What looked like hyperactivity was actually a sharp intelligence with an intense focus. Daisy was wonderfully strategic, learning to predict bounces from any angle and anticipate her mom's movements. She even figured out that dropping the ball right on the couch was the surest way to get it thrown again. Behind those bright eyes was a little mastermind, completely devoted to the art and science of fetch.
Under their mom's careful supervision, Bluey and Daisy began figuring out how to coexist. Bluey, the calm, fluffy white and brown dog, was unsure of this tiny, energetic newcomer, but curious puppy Daisy was fascinated, bouncing in little circles to play. It was like watching a Zen master meet a tiny, adorable tornado.
Bluey's patience with little Daisy was remarkable from the start. He met her high-speed bumps, toy stealing, and puppy barks with gentle calm, never aggression. Their mom saw he was simply teaching her how to be a good dog. Daisy offered her ball every single day, just sure Bluey would learn to love fetch, but sweet, patient Bluey simply looked away.
Over time, their mom noticed a subtle but wonderful shift. At first, they kept apart, Bluey on his preferred cushion while Daisy explored. But gradually, the distance between them shrank. Soon, Daisy would rest on the floor beneath him, and both would be at their mom's feet. They even ate side by side with no competition. And by evening, Bluey would settle on one side of her, and a tired Daisy would curl up on the other. After several nights in their separate beds, a moment their mom will always remember came. Exhausted from fetch, Daisy curled up against Bluey's bed. He opened one eye, saw the tiny red poodle, and simply shifted over. By morning, she had migrated right into his bed, welcomed without complaint. Her mom's initial worries, that gentle Bluey might feel displaced by energetic Daisy, simply melted away into indescribable joy. She was witnessing two very different personalities not just coexist, but genuinely enjoy each other. With her morning coffee, she'd watch Bluey patiently let Daisy sniff his ears, or see Daisy pause mid-fetch to check on him. These small, quiet moments meant everything. They learned a language all their own. A gentle nose bump meant hello. A quiet walk away meant not right now. And dropping her ball for him was the highest compliment.
About 3 weeks after Daisy's arrival, the breakthrough happened. From the kitchen, their mom heard new playful sounds and peeked around the corner. She saw Bluey, who would never chase a ball, doing a gentle play bow to a bouncing, excited Daisy. They moved in a careful dance. Bluey was gentle and controlled. Daisy, quick yet considerate not to overwhelm him. It lasted just a few minutes before Bluey calmly sat down, but in that sweet moment, a real friendship was beginning to form. Soon, their mom noticed them actively seeking each other out. If Bluey woke from a nap, he'd come find Daisy. During a game of fetch, Daisy would pause and run to the door just to check on Bluey. It wasn't for interaction, but simply a constant, sweet awareness of where the other was, a bond developing far beyond mere tolerance.
The most beautiful part of their friendship was how they learned to respect each other's boundaries. Daisy understood that Bluey's special spot on the couch was his sanctuary, not for her energetic fetch games. Bluey, in turn, knew that when Daisy had her ball, she was in her own sacred world of intense focus and joy that he shouldn't interrupt. Their mom never once had to referee, because there were simply no conflicts, just two very different dogs figuring out how to share space, resources, and affection while honoring their natures. This profound mutual respect became the solid foundation of their beautiful, lasting friendship. Every morning began the same. Mom waking to find both dogs waiting patiently. Bluey sat calmly, his fluffy tail wagging as her eyes opened. Daisy, however, vibrated with tiny squeaks, excited for ball throwing. Mom always gave Bluey the quiet cuddle he appreciated first, while Daisy raced for her ball, a routine that honored both their needs before the joyful chaos. Mealtimes showed their personalities perfectly. Mom set portions for Bluey, the Pomeranian, and a tiny amount for Daisy, the toy poodle. Bluey ate with quiet dignity. Daisy attacked her bowl, done in 30 seconds, so fast Mom worried she might choke. She'd then eye Bluey's bowl with great interest, knowing his food was strictly off limits. A double leash failed. Daisy, the Pomeranian, sprints, while Bluey, the poodle, sniffs. The solution? Separate walks. Calm mornings for Bluey, fast afternoons for Daisy. When together, their mom moderates the two best friends as admiring neighbors look on. By midday, the living room became Daisy's personal training ground. With Olympic-level dedication, she developed impressive trick catches, snagging the ball midair, sliding across the floor, and even using furniture as a launch pad. Their mom once stopped counting at 120 throws. From his couch perch, Bluey watched with a mix of admiration and bewilderment. But after a truly impressive catch, his tail would give the slightest wag, a quiet nod to Daisy's incredible athletic prowess. While Daisy expended tremendous energy on fetch, Bluey had perfected peaceful observation. From his couch, he'd watch Mom cook or Daisy play, his head following the ball while his body stayed cozy. A serene presence, and a lovely reminder that not everything needs frantic action. After playing fetch until she was completely exhausted, Daisy would stumble to the already napping Bluey. He'd wake just enough to make room as she curled up, a sight that always melted their mom's heart. Two very different dogs, finally sleeping peacefully together. Whenever family and friends visited, they were completely charmed by the duo's stark contrast. Daisy greeted them with boundless energy, ball in mouth, ready for play. Bluey, meanwhile, waited patiently to approach each person for gentle pets. Visitors happily took shifts, throwing the ball until an arm ached, then trading off for some calm, quiet affection with Bluey. Their mom lovingly adapted the house to fit them perfectly. Bluey's favorite cushion got a special soft blanket just for him. A basket held Daisy's ball collection. Backup balls were essential for her mental health when one rolled out of sight. With gates for safety and multiple water bowls, the quiet retirement space became a vibrant home for its two beloved companions, Daisy, who only cared about balls, and Bluey, who only cared about being petted. Their mom took special care to give each dog individual attention in ways that perfectly suited their unique personalities. For Bluey, this meant special morning cuddle time before Daisy's energy bubbled over for the day. Just a precious 20 minutes of quiet petting and soft, loving words. She would tell Bluey all about her plans for the day, and he would listen with those attentive eyes that made you feel like the most important person in the world. Daisy, on the other hand, got her own special fetch time in the backyard while Bluey was napping. It was her time to shine, where their mom could really throw the ball far and Daisy could joyfully run at full speed without worrying about bumping into anything. These treasured individual moments ensured both dogs felt uniquely loved and deeply appreciated for exactly who they were. As evening approached, the day's happy chaos would finally melt into a comfortable calm. Daisy, exhausted from a full day of nonstop fetch,
would accept that ball time was officially over. Their mom would settle into her favorite chair with a book or the TV remote, and like clockwork, both dogs would join her. Bluey would climb right up beside her, resting his head on her lap with a contented sigh as she absent-mindedly petted him. Daisy would curl up at her feet, or sometimes on the opposite side of the chair, her tiny body finally still. In these quiet evening hours, the house felt complete, a perfect picture of one woman, two very different dogs, and the deep, peaceful feeling of knowing everyone was exactly where they belonged. People would often ask their mom if having two dogs was twice the work. She would always just laugh and say it was twice the work, to be sure, but 10 times the joy. And it was true. Bluey brought a calm, steady love that grounded her days and provided a constant source of comfort. His gentle presence was like a form of meditation. Just being near him seemed to lower her blood pressure, a sweet reminder to slow down. Then there was Daisy, who brought pure energy, laughter, and a bright sense of purpose. After all, how could you possibly feel down when a tiny red poodle is demanding you throw her ball with such unbridled enthusiasm? Together, they provided everything their mom needed: companionship, entertainment, purpose, and unconditional love. They had transformed her retirement from quiet solitude into a life of joyful purpose. Wise old soul Bluey and eternal puppy Daisy perfectly complemented one another. He taught her the value of rest, and she taught him the joy of play, enriching both of their lives. Training and motivation for the two differed dramatically, based on what they each valued most. For Bluey, it was all about food. Their mom's tasty treats for good behavior worked beautifully. Daisy, however, couldn't care less about food rewards. Her currency was simply the ball, her motivation, reward, and entire life purpose. Rainy days brought out their different personalities in the most wonderful way. Bluey absolutely hated getting wet and would refuse to even step a paw outside, giving their mom such a pitiful look that she'd find herself holding an umbrella over him for his necessary bathroom breaks. Daisy, on the other hand, didn't seem to notice the weather at all. If her beloved ball was outside, she would sprint through rain, snow, or even apocalyptic conditions to retrieve it without a second thought. There are photos of Daisy, soaked to the bone but triumphantly holding her ball, looking absolutely thrilled with life, while Bluey watches from the warm, dry safety of the doorway with an expression that clearly said, "She's insane, but she's my insane friend." Bedtime in the house had become a cherished ritual all its own. When their mom would announce, "Okay, time for bed," both dogs knew exactly what this meant. Bluey would slowly make his way to the bedroom, hopping up to his designated spot at the foot of the bed. Daisy, meanwhile, would make one last frantic sprint to check on her ball, ensuring it would be safe for tomorrow, then zin to the bedroom at full speed. She'd leap onto the bed, an impressive feat for someone so small, circle 3 times, and then settle down right near Bluey. As their mom turned off the lights, Bluey would be snoring softly within minutes, while Daisy's paws would twitch in her sleep, dreaming, no doubt, of endless fetch sessions. And their mom would drift off, feeling so incredibly grateful for her 2 perfect companions. Their friendship grew gradually, but their mom remembers the moment she knew it was true love. Daisy's ball got stuck under a bush. After struggling, she ran inside, not to her mom, but straight to Bluey, barking urgently. Bluey, who normally ignored her, followed. He calmly hooked the ball free with his larger paw, then walked away as if it were nothing. Daisy grabbed her ball, but first ran back and licked his face. That's when their mom knew
These two were truly best friends.
Honoring their unique natures, they found a perfect way to play. Daisy would zoom with her ball, dropping it for Bluey on his cushion. His occasional paw bat was all she needed to know he was playing along. Then she'd play his calmer game, lying perfectly still while he gently groomed her ears.
Despite their many differences, both dogs developed a powerful protective instinct toward each other. On their walks, if a larger dog approached, Bluey would subtly move to place himself just in front of Daisy, his calm demeanor shifting to quiet, alert watchfulness. When strangers came to the house, Daisy would let out her tiny but fierce bark, staying close to Bluey, her way of protecting him, even though he was bigger. If Daisy got into something she shouldn't and heard their mom's stern voice, Bluey would immediately walk over to offer silent comfort. And if Bluey seemed unsettled for any reason, Daisy would abandon her ball and press close, her own energy calming in response to his need for peace. They had become each other's protectors and each other's comfort. The evolution of their sleeping arrangements told the story of their bond. It started with separate beds, but Daisy soon progressed to sleeping against Bluey's, then in it, a move he simply tolerated. Finally, Bluey began looking for Daisy before settling down for a nap himself. So their mom bought a larger shared bed, where she'd find them curled up together, Bluey's white and brown fur mixing with Daisy's red coat in a perfect yin-yang. Sometimes his head rested on her tiny body, but always they were together.
In the beginning, they had separate toys, separate treats, and separate spaces, but gradually sharing became their new way of life. Daisy learned she could borrow Bluey's toys, though she rarely tired of her own ball, and Bluey discovered Daisy's water bowl was simply closer. For treats, they'd sit patiently together, with Bluey no longer caring who went first. Gifts from family all went into one communal pile. They had stopped thinking mine or yours and shifted entirely to ours, an unconscious sharing that shed a deep trust and security in their friendship. Their mom watched in awe as Bluey and Daisy developed their own secret language. A tilt of Bluey's head meant, "Calm down," a whine from Daisy, "Help with my ball." They followed each other to the door and the water bowl, moving as one perfectly synchronized partnership. Their deep bond meant even brief separations caused visible distress. When Bluey had a vet appointment, a sad Daisy lay by the door, her ball untouched, exploding with joy only when he returned. Similarly, a worried Bluey would pace restlessly whenever Daisy was away. They had become essential to each other's security. Dinner time revealed a coordinated strategy Bluey and Daisy had never shown before meeting. When their mom cooked, Bluey would sit perfectly still, fixing his eyes on her with soulful, good boy patience. Daisy added all the drama, spinning and performing tricks, then barking to highlight his perfect sitting. This unplanned good cop, bad cop routine was impossible for their mom to resist, and she'd give in with small dog-safe treats. Secondly, they were cute. Together, they were an irresistible force of adorable manipulation. Their mom noticed their nap schedules mysteriously synchronizing. Even if one was mid-play, when they settled down, the other would yawn and follow within minutes. It was as if their internal clocks were now ticking as one. Whenever their mom came home from errands, their greeting ritual had evolved into a beautifully choreographed performance. Daisy would always reach her first, a flurry of bouncing, spinning joy, usually with her ball already in her mouth, ready for action. But she wouldn't stay long. After her energetic hello, she would run back to where Bluey was calmly approaching. He would reach their mom's second, his tail wagging slowly, a greeting more dignified but no less happy. Then both dogs would escort her into the house, Daisy leading the way at high speed and Bluey following at a measured pace. And their mom, in the middle, felt completely loved and welcomed home by her perfect pair of companions. It's so sweet to remember how Bluey absolutely hated the rain, while Daisy didn't seem to care at all. Eventually, even this major difference became a beautiful bonding point between them. On rainy days, When Bluey staunchly refused to go outside, Daisy started staying inside too. She'd completely abandon her ball just to sit with Bluey and keep him company during the scary rain. And when it was sunny and Bluey wanted to lie in a warm patch of sunshine, Daisy would bring her ball to the backyard, playing fetch nearby, but always lovingly checking on Bluey to make sure he was still enjoying his peaceful sunbath. They had learned to adapt to each other, finding ways to always be together, no matter the weather. Then came the most shocking and heartwarming moment in their friendship. Bluey actually played with Daisy's ball. This wasn't a sudden love for fetch. It was simply his deep love for Daisy. Their mom watched in amazement as Bluey, lying on the floor, deliberately pushed the ball with his nose. Daisy exploded with joy, chased it, and brought it right back for him to push again. They repeated this for 5 minutes, 100% more fetch than Bluey had played in his life. When he returned to his couch, Daisy was ecstatic, and their mom was teary-eyed, realizing he had stepped completely outside his comfort zone, just to make his best friend happy. Remember how they used to eat so separately? Daisy would finish in seconds and then just watch as Bluey ate slowly. Even that had completely changed over time. Now, Daisy still finishes her food first, but instead of fixating on Bluey's bowl, she waits patiently until he's done. Then they go to their shared water bowl and drink together, side by side. Sometimes Bluey even leaves a few pieces of food in his bowl, walks away, and lets Daisy carefully finish them. This was a level of trust and sharing their mom never had to teach. It simply grew organically from their deep friendship. Mealtimes had transformed from separate activities into another shared peaceful ritual that strengthened their incredible bond. In their own sweet ways, Bluey and Daisy became the most wonderful teachers for each other. Daisy learned from Bluey that calm moments are precious and that not everything in life needs frantic, boundless energy. She began having quiet times just to lie down and rest without needing to play fetch, something she'd never done before. And Bluey, in turn, learned from Daisy that play could be joyful, that a little energy wasn't scary at all. He started to initiate his own gentle play sessions before returning to his calm default state. Through their friendship, they simply made each other better, more balanced dogs. By this point, the bond between Bluey and Daisy had become truly unbreakable. They were a matched pair, a team, and best friends who had learned each other's languages, preferences, and needs. Adapting their behaviors, one's happiness made the other even happier, while stress was met with immediate comfort. They had chosen each other, not for being similar, but because their differences complemented each other so perfectly. The mom would watch calm, steady Bluey with energetic, passionate Daisy, marveling at a friendship that seemed almost destined to happen. A favorite family story is from a breezy afternoon when Mom threw the ball and a gust of wind swept it right over the fence. Daisy's reaction was frantic, jumping, barking, and digging so desperately that even Bluey came outside to investigate. As their mom went to the neighbor's door for the precious ball, Daisy paced. The moment the neighbor appeared holding it, Daisy's joy exploded into 3 complete backflips. Completely charmed by the tiny poodle's passion, the kind neighbor offered a few throws, and from then on, always kept dog treats by her door just for Daisy. One day, after difficult news left their mom wrapped in a heavy sadness, she sat tearfully on the couch. Bluey immediately noticed her distress. Unprompted, he climbed up beside her, pressed his warm body close, and rested his head gently on her lap. For 2 full hours, he didn't move, just stayed present, occasionally looking up with deeply understanding eyes that seemed to say, "I'm here. It's okay." Even Daisy sensed the somber mood. Leaving her ball in its basket, she curled up on their mom's other side, her usual energy subdued. That day, their mom learned that while Daisy brought laughter, Bluey brought healing.
Both were essential, and both were priceless gifts.
One afternoon, their mom made the classic mistake of leaving a brand new bag of dog treats on the low coffee table while she answered the phone. When she returned just 5 minutes later, she found Bluey and Daisy engaged in what could only be described as a covert operation. Bluey, who could just barely reach, was using his nose to push the bag to the very edge of the table. Daisy, too small to reach, served as lookout, providing plenty of vocal encouragement. The bag fell to the floor, just as they had planned, and both dogs were trying to tear it open when their mom walked in. The guilty looks on their faces were absolutely priceless. Their mom couldn't even be mad. She just laughed, gave them each one treat for their clever teamwork, and put the bag away properly. On their first snow day together, a hesitant Bluey ventured out with Daisy, who had never seen snow. She touched it cautiously, jumped from the cold, then decided it was the most amazing thing ever. She began leaping like a tiny red dolphin, disappearing into the powder. Bluey watched calmly, then followed her trail. Soon, both were snow-covered, and their mom had taken about 100 adorable photos. Every 6 weeks meant grooming, and their mom always scheduled them together, as they hated being separated. Their groomer loved their different challenges. Bluey stood perfectly still for his bath and nail trim with patient martyrdom, thinking it all undignified but necessary. Daisy, meanwhile, treated it like an athletic event, splashing water and trying to play with the tools. But if separated, both dogs became anxious and difficult to manage. Together, they were manageable. Apart, they were impossible. Their supportive bond extended even to their tolerance for grooming. Car rides revealed another sweet personality contrast. While their mom always used a secured carrier for safety, their reactions were complete opposites. Bluey found the car's motion incredibly soothing. He'd immediately curl into a ball and sleep through the entire journey. Daisy, however, treated every ride as a thrilling adventure. She would press her face to the mesh, watching everything pass by, whining with excitement at other dogs or interesting sights. On long trips, she'd finally exhaust herself and fall asleep, inevitably cuddled right up against Bluey, who never even woke up. Dog park trips meant careful management. Bluey stayed near their mom, accepting greetings but never seeking them out. Tiny Daisy, however, wanted to play with everyone, inviting dogs 10 times her size to chase her ball. Though most dogs were gentle, their mom watched with her heart in her throat. But Bluey was watching too, calmly monitoring his little friend's safety from a distance. The first major thunderstorm they experienced together taught their mom something truly wonderful. Her normally calm Bluey was absolutely terrified of the thunder, shaking uncontrollably as he tried to hide under furniture or press tightly against her. Fetch-obsessed Daisy, surprisingly, wasn't bothered at all. But when she saw Bluey so scared, she did something remarkable. She left her ball, walked to his hiding spot under a table, and squeezed in beside him. She stayed right there through the whole storm, not playing, not moving, just being present. With Daisy pressed against him, Bluey calmed slightly, and they weathered it all together. In obedience class, they were the most mismatched pair. Bluey mastered every command perfectly on the first try, looking a little bored, but clever Daisy would only perform if a ball was her reward. Their unique styles became a beloved example for the whole class. At the vet, where they could thankfully stay together, their incredible bond was on full display. During Bluey's exam, Daisy would quietly monitor everything. Then he would stand guard during hers. They were even calmer for vaccinations if the other was nearby, a support system their vet said she'd never seen between two such different dogs. Life has settled into a beautiful, predictable rhythm. Their mom wakes each morning to 2 dogs who love her completely, starting the day with Bluey's gentle cuddles and Daisy's excited energy. Their days flow through fetch, naps, walks, and meals, while evenings end with both dogs settled close, content, and peaceful. The routine is predictable, but never boring, because these two bring constant, spontaneous joy. She laughs multiple times a day at Daisy's
Their mom often reflects on how much her life has blossomed since these two wonderful dogs came into it. Before Bluey, her retirement had plenty of time, but she often felt aimless. Bluey gave her a new sense of purpose and a quiet, comforting companionship. Before Daisy, she had that companionship, but perhaps less daily laughter. Daisy arrived with boundless joy, unstoppable energy, and constant entertainment. Together, Bluey and Daisy have given her a real reason to get up every morning, a happy structure to her days, and a source of unconditional love that fills every single corner of her home. She's healthier because she walks more. She's happier because they always make her laugh. And she's more connected because their undeniable cuteness brings family and friends over to visit more often.
Kevin visits regularly, always amazed at how Bluey has thrived. He knows giving her to his mom, though painful at the time, was the right decision. Tiffany visits when she can, capturing videos of Daisy's incredible fetch performances to share with her friends. Linda stops by frequently, fondly remembering she brought that tiny puppy all the way from Kentucky, and she loves seeing how she has grown. The whole extended family adores them. Nieces and nephews ask about Bluey and Daisy. Holidays now include dog-safe treats, and family photos always include the pups. They're not just pets. They're beloved family members. Their mom started a journal of small miracles, amazed at all the joyful entries. Bluey resting his head on her lap during coffee. Daisy exhausted, sleeping with her ball. Their synchronized naps, curled peacefully together. Bluey's gentle lick of greeting. Daisy dropping her ball to check on him. These tiny moments fill their life with love and connection. His patient, loyal love became her meditation, a steady, calming presence she hadn't known she needed. Daisy, in contrast, brought pure joy, constant laughter, and vital energy. She taught their mom to live with passionate abandon, throwing herself completely into what she loves. Her endless, inspiring dedication to fetch proves it. She never tires, gets bored, or loses that first spark. A tiny dog with an enormous personality, she's a reminder that limitations are self-imposed. She is the joy of play and persistence, bringing a wonderful lightness and smiles to the hardest days. Together, Bluey and Daisy have taught powerful lessons. They've shown that our differences don't have to divide us. They can strengthen a friendship built on respect and adaptation. And they proved that love truly multiplies. As their mom watched them love each other, her own love for both only grew deeper. Walk into their home on any given day, and you'll immediately feel the love that fills it. You'll see dog toys scattered about, mostly balls for Daisy, alongside a few chew toys that Bluey politely ignores. And while there are 2 dog beds, you'll almost always find them snuggled up together, sharing just one. There are multiple water and food bowls, a basket of grooming supplies, and photos on the walls and the refrigerator capturing their story. Bluey looking so regal and calm, Daisy caught mid-jump with her ball, and the 2 of them sleeping peacefully together. The whole house smells like a real home, a comforting mix of happy dog, clean laundry, and whatever their mom cooked for dinner. And everywhere, in every corner, is the tangible evidence of a life being fully lived and of love being freely given. People sometimes ask their mom how Bluey and Daisy can work so well together, being so different, and she has thought about this question deeply. You see, they work because each one provides what the other lacks. Bluey offers a gentle calm when Daisy's energy becomes overwhelming. Daisy brings a spark of excitement when Bluey's calmness might become boring. Bluey's gentle nature gives Daisy a safe place to land after her exhausting play. And Daisy's enthusiasm reminds Bluey that life is always worth being excited about. They balance each other perfectly. They never try to change one another, Instead, they accept and even celebrate their differences. In a world that so often asks everyone to be the same, Bluey and Daisy show us what beautiful, unconditional acceptance truly is. They're perfect together, precisely because they're so different.
This story isn't an ending, it's a happy beginning. For Bluey and Daisy, years of fetch, cuddles, naps, walks, and unconditional love lie ahead. Their mom has more mornings of adoration and evenings of peaceful companionship as the family grows closer. New adventures await, weathering thunderstorms, exploring snow days, charming visitors, with more ball chasing for Daisy and gentle moments for Bluey. The story of these best friends continues daily with love and laughter. The most beautiful, happy ending of all, because it never truly ends.